Kanye West, aka Yeezy, is one of the biggest names in the entire entertainment industry. Though he is known for his revolutionary sound in the late 2000s, he is equally famous for his controversial statements and sometimes manic ego. Kanye West is the kind of person who often refers to himself as a genius, and often gets heated when confronted with any kind of conflict.
I am the #1 most impactful artist of our generation. I am Shakespeare in the flesh, Walt Disney.
He has been known to voice his opinion, no matter what it may be, and that has led some people to believe he may be the next celebrity to get cancelled. Be sure to keep watching until the end of the video to see what went down at the Donda listening party in July of this year. The MAGA Incident. Kanye West may have only been one of the many celebrities to back Donald Trump during his presidency, but his support was possibly the most controversial. When headlines broke alongside pictures of Yeezy wearing a MAGA cap, the world went crazy. While a few people thought it was great that Kanye was supporting Trump, most people voiced their concern with this newfound information. His support of Trump had people confused, seeing how years before that, he made one of the most famous statements in his career, saying, "George Bush doesn't care about black people."
George Bush doesn't care about black people.
But now, he's speaking in defense of someone who a lot of people say is just as bad or worse than Bush for the African American community.
No, I'm standing in that spot. I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here.
It is no secret that Trump has the support of a lot of white nationalists and white supremacists. Does this mean that all people who support him fall into this category? No. However, seeing how a lot of his campaign was fueled by a lot of hate, it is easy to see why Kanye supporting him was so crazy and seemed so bizarre.
Everyone around me tried to pick my candidate for me. And then told me every time I said I like Trump that I couldn't say it out loud or my career would be over. I'd get kicked out the black community because we're supposed to have a monolithic thought. We can only be Democrats and all.
His support put him under fire from a lot of celebrities who are against Trump and his politics, with a lot of them saying that they are confused by what Kanye is doing and hopes that he starts seeing more clearly.
I just trust him as a person of intent. But he shouldn't say all that shit.
Kanye eventually spoke out about the backlash that he had been receiving and mentioned that he has the right to have whatever opinions that he chooses to, and that he will not be silenced. He even went so far as to say that from now on, I'm performing with my motherfucking hat on, talking about his Make America Great Again hat, which he had signed by Trump. Meanwhile, artists who continue to work with Yeezy like Pusha T have mentioned that to Pusha, the MAGA hat was today's equivalent to the KKK hood. He also claims that Kanye has stopped wearing the hat. In an interview with Forbes magazine that took place in July of 2020, Kanye told the interviewer that he was cutting ties with Trump and taking the hat off. Many fans rejoice from this news, but others wonder how long that will last. Saying slavery was a choice. In 2018, Kanye made one of the most controversial statements of his entire career while speaking with TMZ. While he was sitting in the room with multiple TMZ reps, Kanye begins to talk about slavery, and while doing so, he says word for word, "You hear about slavery for 400 years. For 400 years, that sounded like a choice." Implying that because the slaves didn't up and quit, as if that was an option, they chose to stay that way, which is just an absurd thought to have. Kanye immediately felt the backlash when someone in the room, a popular podcaster and TMZ interviewer by the name of Van Lathan, confronts him about this comment. Van Lathan stood up to say that he was appalled by these remarks and ultimately let down by the rapper who he was so fond of.
And frankly, I'm disappointed, I'm appalled, and brother, I am unbelievably hurt by the fact that you have morphed into something, to me, that's not real.
Yeezy took to Twitter to defend his statements by trying to explain that he meant the slaves were mentally enslaved, and that is why, even though they had the numbers, they chose to stay in that position. He then went on to say that he had now become a target due to his comments and was becoming a victim to the media. Almost everybody who read these tweets and heard his comments felt no sympathy for West and the backlash he was receiving for the things he said. Kanye was getting it from fans and celebrities alike. Almost everybody was voicing how disappointed they were in him. Presidential candidacy. On the 4th of July, 2020, Kanye announced his plan to run for president of the United States, and the world was honestly a bit confused by it.
I have decided in 2020 to run for president.
This didn't stop Yeezy though. In 2 weeks, he had filed a statement of candidacy and was on his way to running a campaign. This campaign ended up being one of the weirdest scenes in campaign history and also had some of Kanye's wilder moments. During a rally that he was hosting, when he was speaking to the press and his fans began to speak about Harriet Tubman, in footage of the speech, you can hear Kanye say that she didn't free any slaves. She just got them to work for different white people. Immediately, people in the crowd grew uncomfortable and things only got worse from there. Kanye continued his speech and began talking about how he and his wife Kim Kardashian were considering aborting their child, and just made things way too personal. All of his comments received immediate backlash from the media and made things very difficult for him and Kim. So difficult that she allegedly filed for a divorce, and the two have since split up. The Donda listening party. It turns out that Kanye's comments from that 2018 TMZ interview when he said that slavery was a choice came back to haunt him and for some reason slowed down the release of Donda, the 22-time Grammy winner's newest studio album. Donda was named after Kanye's late mother and was set to be released last year back in July. However, Kanye's political path at that time saw him working less on music and more on his presidential campaign. Now, after that had all subsided, Kanye got back to work and had the album back on track. Towards the end of July of this year, Yeezy hosted a listening party for the day before Donda was set to be released. During the event, fans were both excited to be at Kanye's event, but also a bit let down. The doors opened to the event at 6 p.m., but Kanye didn't take to the stage until just after 10 p.m., and to make matters worse, he was allegedly done and gone before 11 p.m. rolled around. That means fans waited for 4 hours for less than an hour's worth of performance. Nonetheless, it was a Yeezy event, and the fans were happy to be there, but left confused when midnight rolled around and the album was nowhere to be found. As of the time of getting this video ready, the Donda album has still not been released, leaving many fans both upset and confused as to what's going on. Final thoughts. Yeezy's voice is one that is loud and proud, and I don't think it will ever be silenced. Whether he is right, wrong, or just being downright controversial, I think the whole world is going to be able to hear what he has to say. No one knows what's next for Kanye, but we know that everybody is paying attention. For now, be sure to subscribe to stay in tune with all of our hip-hop news and information. Be sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next upload.